Good evening. It's August 2nd, 11:55 p.m. So it's time to go over the latest news, the latest reports, the latest numbers. So in terms of daily deaths, in terms of daily cases, the graph has emerged. First and second wave has emerged, meaning that we're going towards one massive first wave. The deaths are coming back up. The graph is combining. It'll turn shortly into this graph. I guarantee you that. So now it's going to today's numbers. It was Sunday. Sundays are usually the lowest numbers. In terms of cases, we have India first, 52,000. USA second, 49,000. Brazil third, 24,000. Colombia fourth, 11,000. Now, the fourth spot tends to change a lot between Colombia and Mexico and South Africa. So it tends to rotate. In terms of deaths, we have Mexico got number one with 784. India second, 758. Brazil third, 514, and USA 467. Now keep in mind, these numbers are outdated. Many come from backlogs. Many have been stalled. So these are very inaccurate. We do not know the actual deaths. So keep that in mind whenever you look at worldometers. And there are a lot of people being sneaky and hiding things. For example, France didn't report, Spain didn't report, Germany reported no deaths, and they're a mess right now, which I'll get into later. Sweden didn't report, and they never report. It's notorious. China is lying, obviously. We got Switzerland and Ireland not reporting any deaths. Afghanistan somehow has one death, no cases. It's a disaster. It's horrible. So don't believe worldometers as if it's telling the absolute truth, because it's not. Now looking state by state with the U.S., we have number one state for today for new cases is Florida with 7,000, California 6,000, Texas 4,000, Louisiana 3,000. Now in terms of deaths, we have Texas 75, Florida 62, Louisiana 57, and California 38. Now keep in mind, as I said time and time before, it's a Sunday. On Sunday we always get lower numbers because it's a weekend. People aren't working. They got the part-timers out. We don't hit actual numbers till Tuesday. So tomorrow, even tomorrow, it'll be kind of like the eye of the storm. But once Tuesday hits next week, we're gonna get some interesting numbers. I guarantee you. Now, in terms of the latest news, let's see what have I compiled. California becomes first state to exceed 500,000 SARS-2 cases. I warned months ago this would happen. California got hit the hardest with cases because it's the most populous state by a lot. I am already dead. Yeah, when it comes to the U.S., you have to look at the population state by state. New York got hit hard with 9 million cases. Now California's getting hit hard. New York got hit hard, but they have a population of 9 million. So that kind of explains, in a sense, what happened. Now, when you go to California, California has 40 million people, 40 million as their own population. So I can guarantee you that California will get hit much harder than anywhere else in the USA. And Texas is the second most populous state. They're getting hit hard. And Florida is the third most populous state. And they're getting hit hard too. So when it comes to US states and who's gonna get hit hard, check out who are the most populous states. It's California, Texas, and Florida. Doctors in Italy brace themselves for the second wave. Constantini said it's likely that Italy will see a surge in new SARS-2 infections in the fall, which when combined with the seasonal flu could be tough on local hospitals. Yet it's also possible that a second wave could come sooner than October. That's a very good point to make. What's gonna happen when all these people who are infected, who have been sick for weeks or been sick for months, what's gonna happen when they get hit with the flu and it combines? What's gonna happen? It's gonna be catastrophic, I guarantee you. Several European nations, including Spain, Germany, and France, are already seeing upticks in new infections after months of relative stability. Yeah, they told us to watch Europe, and Europe is getting destroyed, slowly but surely. Constantini said he fears a return to what the country experienced in late February. The role of positive asymptomatic carriers is still a very big question, so it's very important to test a lot of people, said Dr. Eugenio Baraldi, director of neonatology and the neonatal intensive care unit at University Hospital in Padua. This will be a big problem for all the world. Yes, we still don't understand how infectious this virus is, but the fact that they can say that the role of positive asymptomatic carriers is still a very big question leads to the other question that this virus can still be more infectious than what they say. Now, I posted a video yesterday about Dr. Yan, how she said that in her hamster experiment, nothing escaped. Everything got infected. And how in China, if one apartment had a suspected case of SARS-2, they would weld the whole thing shut, kill all of them, starve them to death, get them all infected, get them out of the way, because they understand that this virus is so infectious that if you live in an apartment, you're not going to escape it. Now, that's not pretty. That's not something that, that you want to hear, but that's the reality of it. And the worst part is we still don't know the worst parts of this virus. 36 crew in the Norwegian cruise ship test positive for SARS-2. Now, cruise ships are still getting hit hard. People are still going on cruises. I don't understand, the logic behind that. A growing number of pro athletes in the U.S. are opting out of the 2020 season or league restarts, citing SARS-2 concerns. Here in the U.S., we have a lot of sports of all varieties, and many players are just not playing because they don't want to catch the virus. So sports is getting butchered. They're losing millions of dollars. The fans are getting disappointed. It's just a disaster. But it's for the better, because if the sports was to be allowed to continue, we would just see more cases. We need to move on from HTQ, says Trump testing czar. We need to move on from that and talk about what is effective, he said. Even Fauci discredits HTQ, despite that it was used as an effective anti-SARS drug back during the 2003 SARS outbreak. They literally want people to die. They know how it works, especially Fauci, partly because it prevents the cytokine storm. Chinese Communist Party did the same thing. Their officials took HTQ and none got sick, while they told people that it doesn't work. Now, we do have Chinese studies that say that HTQ worked. We do have Chinese studies that show the actual genome sequence of the virus. But again, the Chinese Communist Party controls what gets suppressed and what they want the public to know. And they covered it all up. Kosovo Prime Minister tests positive for SARS-2. Another Prime Minister, potentially dead. Media blackout. Media to be banned from Republican convention due to SARS-2 restrictions. Citing SARS concerns, media members will be turned away in order to assure compliance with state and local guidelines regarding to the number of people who can attend events. The announcement was highly unusual and would represent a historic departure from convention practices in modern times. Germany. Some 45 police officers were injured in Berlin, many with glass to the face, on Saturday as they tried to break up a large gathering of people demonstrating against SARS-2 restrictions, including the face mask requirement. 3 of the officers are being treated in the hospital. More than 130 people were arrested. 130 for resisting arrest, breach of the peace, and the use of unconstitutional symbols. Now, I wonder what those symbols are, because I have no idea what they mean. I have no idea what they mean by that. The protest through the streets of the capital went ahead despite a new spike in domestic cases and warnings that Europe is being hit by a second wave. The Day of Freedom demonstration featured a mixture of hard left and right supporters and conspiracy theorists, many of whom shouted, "We are the second wave." Well, that's ironic, because they literally are going to be the second wave, as they converged on the Brandenburg Gate. Millions of SARS-2 tests are able to detect the virus within 90 minutes and will be rolled out to British hospitals, care homes, and laboratories to boost capacity in the coming months, Health Minister says. Meanwhile, many Americans are waiting for over 2 weeks for their results. California, surge of banks all over the state close due to SARS-2. The government of the central Japan city, where the popular anime series Long Live Sunshine is set to conjure a promotional campaign using the anime to support local tourism, badly hobbled by the SARS-2 pandemic. I mean, Japan obviously favors the economy over the people. They tried to establish the Olympics, and they failed miserably at that too. U.S. A Republican state senator who sponsored a bill to limit the emergency powers of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's has used to address the pandemic has tested positive for SARS-2. So you got a senator who voted against the lockdown, who voted against restriction, and now they caught the virus. I mean, it's hilarious. It's an embarrassment, and they'll never recover. Dr. Deborah Birx, the SARS-2 response coordinator for the White House Task Force, told CNN Sunday that anyone on vacation in a hotspot should assume you're infected. Birx said the current stage of the pandemic is different from March and April. Now, these people lie all the time, but they drop hints here and there of what's actually happening. What Birx is saying is that if you go to a hotspot, you're going to get infected. So what she's really saying is, this is so infectious, you're not going to escape it. And then she says that this pandemic has reached a different stage from March and April. What could that mean? Her words in this article are much deeper than what it appears to be at face value. So I thought this was a very interesting article. A university in Hawaii, a football player is in isolation after testing positive for SARS-2, school officials announced today. People who have been in close contact with the player, including those who live in the same off-campus unit, are also being tested. Citing privacy rules, officials declined to release other information. So we got an outbreak, in Hawaii when it comes to a football player at a school. Now, keep in mind, the U.S. is debating whether or not schools should reopen. We are already getting massive outbreaks in schools all over the U.S. Schools should not open. We're already seeing the consequence of it. We're already seeing it. And the fact that these officials decline to release information shows nothing more than a cover-up. Nothing more than a cover-up. New York, Shaker High School has been closed, along with its extended year program after an employee tests positive for SARS-2. Again, here we're seeing schools in New York are getting outbreaks. Yesterday, I talked about a school in Virginia. They found a positive case on the first day that they reopened. We know that South Africa, the one country that let schools be open, got completely demolished by cases throughout all over the schools, throughout all over the students and the teachers. So reopening the schools is not going to work. And if America chooses to reopen their schools, the hospitals are going to get hit. The hospitals are going to get sorry, excuse me. I almost fell down. The hospitals are going to get hit harder, much harder than they're getting hit right now. I can guarantee you that. This is the new normal. Georgia teen loses both parents to SARS-2 days apart. Surviving son says that they didn't go out. They wore PPE, and they don't know how they got it. They were true for the love for each other for sure. They had very big hearts, and they would give without even thinking about getting back, Justin said. Now, we know as back as December, entire families are getting infected by this virus. In China, in Wuhan, because of the lies of the CCP to cover up the virus and what it can do to you, and because they decided to use draconian lockdown methods, many kids in China were left orphaned with no parents, no family, because they were all killed by the virus. And we are not very far from that. And the past couple of days, I have told you guys many times that a lot of kids are having their parents die from this virus. This is serious. If this if the whole world cannot contain this virus, we're gonna see something worse than the Spanish flu. And if you don't know how bad the Spanish flu was, look up the numbers because they were horrific. And today we have a much bigger population, and today we have a much easier way to travel among the world. And I can guarantee you right now that this pandemic, if we don't stop China from allowing themselves to lie about this, and we don't do something to stop, this CCP, this virus will result in a lot of deaths. A lot of deaths. It's incredible that the death toll is going to be just immense. I'm talking millions. I'm talking millions. I can guarantee you at this point. So please take it seriously. Please take it seriously. Wisconsin. Hochon Gaming says several employees tested positive for SARS-2. That's a gaming center where several employees tested positive. I mean, it's obvious. Family gatherings linked to SARS-2 spikes nationwide, numbers show. Yeah, so family gatherings are an unfortunate common occurrence towards the spread of the virus. And the problem is that people are not informed. They don't know what's going on. And that's where we come in. Because what we can do is inform people and tell them what's going on and tell them to protect themselves. Because what's happening is people don't know how bad this virus is. People think that if they wear a mask, they're invincible. People who think that they are invincible if they wear a mask are no better than young kids that think that they're invincible because they're young. This thing can live on your mask for days. This thing can go up your ears. It can go in your eyes. It can attach to your clothes. It can attach to your skin. It can attach to your hair. It can hide in your ears. It can hide behind your ears. This is a virus that will most likely infect you unless you actually do your research and find out what it can do to you. I mean, I'll go over it again, but just listen to this. Family gatherings linked to SARS-2 spikes nationwide, numbers show. Just days ago, a Dallas man who threw a party under the belief that SARS-2 was a Democratic hoax said he regretted the decision after one family member died and 13 others tested positive. We know that in America there was a huge misinformation campaign about a film called Plandemic. And this film that is called Plandemic, the goal of the film was to trick millions of Americans into thinking or believing that the virus is a hoax and that the masks are killing people. And because of Judy Mikovits, the scientist behind Plandemic that does all the talking, it is because of her, and it is because of her that people have believed this, and she has blood on her hands, and she should be thrown in jail. If it was up to me, she would get locked up and muzzled. In June, another Dallas family saw 18 members fall ill with SARS-2 after a surprise birthday party. I'm so tired of reading that stuff. What I mean is that it's just exhausting that people do not take this seriously. Earlier last month, in Charlotte, North Carolina, health officials say that a single family gathering was responsible for at least 40 cases of SARS-2, likely due to family members and guests who didn't know they were already infected. Now, people don't seem to realize, even now, that what makes this virus dangerous is that when you catch it, you can spread it and not even know you're spreading it because it messes up your body and it blocks your pain receptors. And so your organs are damaged and you don't know it because you can't feel it. And at the same time, you're infectious and you're going around spreading it to everybody. And maybe you'll be fine. But maybe you'll kill a brother. Maybe you'll kill a sister. Maybe you'll kill your parents or grandparents. And you will have no idea that you did it. This virus is, in my opinion, the most effective virus ever to have been exposed to humans. And it's just incredible what it is capable of. And we still don't know exactly what it does. Illinois. Holy Family Catholic Church announced yesterday on Facebook that Pastor Joe Malloy had tested positive for SARS-2. Services were canceled this Sunday, and prior to that, church officials said people were required to wear masks and social distance at the in-person services. During the Black Plague, people rushed to the churches, begged God for salvation, and what happened? We had hundreds of people dying all over the place, in the churches, bodies piling up in the churches, getting sick. I'm sorry, but it's just like, it's incredible. Your religion will not save you. Even today, I drove by a church right by my house, and it was full of people, and they were not social distancing. They were all congregated together in this church, and I drove by, and I was shocked because I didn't know they were doing this. I didn't know they were doing this, and they're all Latino. They're all Latino, and guess what? In Los Angeles, the Latino is the number one getting infected and dying in Los Angeles. And I passed by a church where there were minimum at least 100 people crowded together at church. And I already know what they're thinking. They're thinking that exactly what I've told you before. They're thinking that, oh, they're going to be all right because God's protecting them, which is a complete and utter delusion. And they also don't understand how the virus works. Because they feel, like I said, they feel because they wear a mask, they're invincible. And so this is where we're at. You know, like I'm sick and tired of the way people are treating this. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But all I can do is just report to you the news, just to expose to you the reality of the situation. So what I would say is spread this. Inform your friends. Inform your family. Share my videos. Share what I have to say. Because it's getting worse. And the fall's coming. Spring was the beginning. Summer we saw a huge jump. And fall I expect is going to be significantly worse. We are nowhere near beating this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.